No Sabbath changed, then no verse can justify Sunday worship. Skeptics and non-believers often use verses like Colossians 2:16, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days," to justify worshipping on Sunday. But here's my challenge. If you can find a single verse where God, Jesus, or his apostles abolished the Sabbath and replaced it with Sunday worship, I will give you $19 million. No assumptions, no misinterpretations, just one clear verse. Are you ready? Let's examine the facts before you take the challenge. 1. The Sabbath was established by God, not man. The Sabbath was never a Jewish tradition, it was a creation ordinance. Genesis 2:2-3. And on the seventh day, God ended his work, and he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Exodus 20:8-11. The fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Question for skeptics. If the Sabbath was just a ceremonial law for Israel, why was it established before sin even existed? 2. Did Jesus abolish the Sabbath? Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath. Mark chapter 2-28. If he intended to replace the Sabbath with Sunday, wouldn't he have clearly said so? Instead, Luke chapter 4:16. As his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. Matthew 24:20. Jesus warns his followers to pray that their escape from tribulation is not on the Sabbath, years after his resurrection. Question for skeptics. If Jesus abolished the Sabbath, why did he expect his followers to still keep it decades later? 3. What about the apostles? Some claim the apostles changed the Sabbath, but the Bible proves otherwise. Acts 13:42-44. Paul and Barnabas preached on the Sabbath, and Gentiles begged to hear more on the next Sabbath, not Sunday. Acts 18:4. Paul preached every Sabbath, persuading Jews and Greeks alike. If Sunday was the new day of worship, wouldn't Paul have said, "Come back tomorrow, Sunday"? Question for skeptics. Why did Paul and the apostles continue worshipping on the Sabbath instead of switching to Sunday? 4. Common misused verses debunked. A. Colossians 2:16. Let no man judge you. This verse refers to the ceremonial Sabbaths tied to feasts, not the weekly Sabbath of the Ten Commandments. Challenge. Can you show a single verse where Paul calls the seventh-day Sabbath obsolete? B. Romans 14:5. One man esteems one day above another. Paul is discussing personal convictions, not the Sabbath commandment. Challenge. Why didn't Paul say, "The Lord abolished the Sabbath, so worship on Sunday instead"? C. Acts 27. The disciples met on the first day of the week. This was an evening meeting, since biblical days start at sunset, meaning it was Saturday night, not a Sunday morning worship service. Challenge. If this proves Sunday worship, why do we never see a command to keep Sunday holy? 5. The real source of Sunday worship. Constantine and the Catholic Church. AD 321. Emperor Constantine enacted the first Sunday law, enforcing worship on the first day of the week. Catholic Catechism admits, Sunday is our mark of authority. The Church is above the Bible, and this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that authority. Catholic Record 1923. Challenge. If God changed the Sabbath, why does the Catholic Church claim responsibility for it? 6. Final offer, $19 million for one verse. If you still believe the Sabbath was abolished, find me one clear verse, not an assumption, not an interpretation, where God, Jesus, or his apostles abolished the Sabbath and commanded Sunday worship instead. If you find it, I'll personally give you $19 million. But if you can't, it's time to ask yourself, who do you follow? God's word or human traditions? Your decision. Follow truth or tradition. The Bible never says, remember Sunday to keep it holy. But it does say, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28. Will you obey God, or will you follow the traditions of men? Choose wisely.